evening, Saskatoon, and welcome to Mom, I'm a Thespian, your favorite radio program dedicated to Saskatoon's vibrant theatre scene. I'm your host, Kate Herriot, and the number on your dial is 90.5 FM, CFCR Community Radio. Tonight, I'm chatting with Kent Allen and Blaine Hart, two very well-known Saskatoon actors, about comedy of errors and their history with Shakespeare on the Saskatchewan as a company. I hope you enjoy the episode. As the story goes. I want to start by, because I have veteran actors in the room with me, people who have had a long relationship with the city and with the theater in this city. I wanted to hear a little bit about your first memories of either seeing a show for the first time at Shakespeare or doing a show for the first time at Shakespeare on the Saskatchewan, what that was like.
Right. Well, thank you for inviting us to your show. And I can't, dates are beyond me.
Oh, yeah.
But it was the year of the tour when the Shakespeare Festival was touring with the Robert Lepage production. That was my, and I did the show here, 12th Night, when they only did one show per season. And that was my first experience. Stephen Heatley was the director, and for me it was wonderful. I hadn't been. I just moved up from Regina a few years earlier and was running a karate club, so I hadn't been in theater here very much. So it was a really a great way to reintroduce myself to working in the profession. So
yeah. And back then, were the casts largely like from all across Canada? Was it more local?
The focus was still local.
Yeah.
Which is always, that's always the best choice. Mm-hmm. And I'm just trying to think. I know there was Gabe Prendergast, an old professor of mine from Regina, wonderful, wonderful man. Miss him. And a couple of, I think there was a young actor from Vancouver. And I think, if I'm not incorrect, everyone else was from around here.
Cool.
Yeah. So it was good fun.
Yeah.
Good silliness.
And Robert Lepage.
Well, that was the show that was
saw
on tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. Yes, it was a magnificent production.
Yeah.
Did you?
No.
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 Yeah, well, it was something, I'll tell you. And it really, I think, elevated the profile of the Shakespeare Festival.
Right.
Didn't hurt.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent. And your first show was the year that I was born.
There you go.
Oh,
yeah. Pretty
Which
much
I looked
says
at
it
and I was
all.
like, really?
Yeah,
Is that possible?
It was a lot of fun, except the pterodactyls attacking the tent.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, and we don't talk about those days enough, Blaine.
No, we don't. I saw A Midsummer Night's Dream, which was the first production. Wasn't in it. They, Gordon McCall. Right. He had a cast. It was a lot of fun. I remember seeing it. And it was the second season. I did The Tempest. I played Caliban. Which was I was excited about to begin with because I am a hairy man and I had a lot of hair at the time and a lot of darkish hair and
darker than now.
And I was excited. Caliban, I thought I have the hair for this part.
Yeah.
I thought I've got it.
Yeah.
I'm hirsute. And then he told me that he thought he was thinking more along the lines of a crayfish kind of character, which really threw me for. I didn't know. You
hadn't done crayfish before?
No, I had not.
No.
I had not experimented with my crayfish thing, and no. So it ended up being was like a little Forbidden Planet, like science fiction and. They were all, Prospero was John Wright.
Is that when he did the golf club? Was that the golf club?
That was, I think, the golf club thing was the Midsummer Night's Dream.
Ah, okay.
What's the golf club
That
thing?
was the idea that Midsummer Night's Dream took place on a golf course.
Oh.
Yeah, that was and The Tempest was sci-fi, and I had to enter my entrance. My first entrance was they set up a pool of water at one end of the tent, and there were these large tubes that I would have to crawl in, the tube on the outside of the tent, and then crawl in and meet up with another tube, and then there was the water. And so I'd have to wait, and I'd have to listen for my cue from John, and then I'd have to go into the water, pull myself through, meet up with, there was another tube connection, and then I had to come out of the water. It was fairly, it was... Yeah.
Some Cirque du Soleil.
Ish.
Business.
Stuff. And there was, it was all fine until, but I did have a wetsuit on. And on top of that, there were the red long underwear, one piece. And then because I was a crayfish type thing, I had shoulder pads.
Right.
And a little helmet. And my shoulder pads got caught on the lip of one of the tubes, and I was underwater, and so I freaked out. As much as you can freak out
when you're in a
underwater.
tube.
Yeah, and did luckily, I mean luckily, managed to get myself extricated from that situation, and but nothing else. There was nothing. There was no. Oh well. We're going to make sure this never happens again. We'll just be more careful when you're going.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all on you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, well, early days. They had to, dig the hole themselves.
That's right.
It's all do-it-yourself stuff.
Yeah.
The audience, I think the audience at the time was still bringing their chairs, right? They had to bring their own chairs.
Really?
Boy, I maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. It was down, it's sort of more or less at the current location.
Right.
Then. And the other thing was that all the fairies, and I think Cynthia Dick played Ariel, they were wrapped in saran wrap.
Oh my God.
Which was also, ridiculously dangerous because they were like, you could see the fluid underneath the saran wrap when they're sweat.
Days are hot enough.
Yeah.
And no bites.
No.
Mosquito
mosquito bites.
No problems there, which is, anyways. And Rick Gorey, Stefano, and Trinculo was David Bairstow. It was a lot of fun. It was really tiring, and it seemed to me that we tended to drink a little bit after shows.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
Yeah, and it was, again...
The closer you get to near-death experiences, I think the more one needs a stabling sort of environment.
So it was a lot of fun. It was really tiring, and it was just the one show, Summer, and that was it. I never did do it again until this year.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, life and whatnot.
Yeah, you were doing
here you are
things.
again.
Yeah.
Here we are.
In the trenches.
Yes.
Back
in the trenches.
Not literally this time.
Yeah, we're not digging those holes.
No.
Thank goodness.
No.
Yeah, there was a huge sense of adventure in the early days. Everything had to be cobbled together. Like, there wasn't the staff that we have now in terms of putting in the structures and the chairs and all that sort of stuff. It was madcap.
Yeah. Was it like Actors Company doing it the way how we do co-ops now, where you're all doing
very much
promo, you're all doing
very
set
much.
stuff.
Yeah. Doing the lighting and the whole shebang.
Yeah. So you're together more, and you're working on different sides of the production more. And I mean, familiarity breeds contempt, but it also, locks people
can
together.
be coalescing as well. And certainly with theatrical projects, the tendency is for people to work very closely together because everybody's working for the best possible product, right? Everybody has sort of a universal goal. Mm-hmm. So it often brings people together.
We're a team.
We're a team, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
so when you're watching the emerging performers, the younger performers coming into the company, or just in general in the community watching young actors come up and start their work, can you look at someone like Dalton or Sarah Bergbush and go, oh, I remember what that felt like, that the experience of being the younger person in the company, or is the environment so different now?
I don't
that
think
it's different.
I don't think I was ever the younger person in the company. So
really?
So, yeah, no, I was an old fella when I.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, you started. Yeah, you didn't start when you were like 13.
Yeah.
No, but I think the experience is very very much the same for the younger performers in any environment. Whether when I was starting in Regina, in a professional environment, it's like the eyes are wide, palms are sweaty, and you're just it's a little terrifying, no question.
Yeah.
Other than the other already given frights.
Yeah.
Let's add another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoy. I mean, I just find since I've sort of come back to the theater more, I've really enjoyed working with young people. Having taught for years.
Haven't gotten sicker of the young generation yet.
No, and I really appreciate working with them rather than being responsible for them, if you know what I mean. And it's really very, I don't know if satisfying is the word, but it gives you a really good feeling to see young people so drawn to all of this and so excited and so focused on acting and theater and man, their energy. I'd give a lot of money.
Yeah.
If I had a lot of money, I'd give it if it was possible to get the energy and the knees. I wouldn't mind their knees.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a knee or
Watching
two.
Jenna Barenbaum, I'm like when we were doing those full run through of Comedy Errors on a day when we had a Comedy of Errors at night, watching her go through the show, I was like, how do you? And I know that she wakes up at 5 to do a workout at 6 in the morning on the day that we're doing that, and it just drives me crazy because she's not that much younger than me, and I do not have that kind of stamina.
Oh, you young kids today!
Yeah,
really.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's something I admire. I don't know. I bet people have asked you this on Mama Thespian before, Blaine, but you were in your teaching career and not taking many theater contracts at all for some time.
No, I did more film and television for a while.
Yeah. But when did you know it was the right time, or when did you go, okay, now it's time for me to start doing more theater again?
It was pretty much with Lear. I hadn't, it was a thought that crossed my mind. It's like, okay, and I knew that I was approaching retirement from teaching. And I got this email from Sky Brandon, who had been, I think, prodded a little bit by Rob Van Menen, good old Rob, and asking if I would play Gloucester in the King Lear. And I thought about it a little bit, and I thought, well, if I don't do this, then I will never do it. Was the thought, and I did. And it was like starting again. I mean, it was basically like as terrifying as anything that I've done, I would say. But I knew or was familiar with most of the people in the show.
Yeah.
Certainly a huge comfort that Kent was playing Lear. And Kent and I have worked together before. As a matter of fact, we just discussed it a little bit beforehand. We did a dramedy called Scrounger in the mid-'90s. It was mid-'90s, I guess, I think.
Yes, as far as I can sure ballpark.
Where it was a 30-minute show, and it was Kent and I for, I don't know, there were quite a few scenes.
Lots of scenes,
And we had quite a good time doing that because we hadn't really worked together before then.
I don't believe we had.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
What company was that with, or who had
That
organized
was
it?
a little film.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Rob King directed it. No, Rob King wrote. No, based.
Was it Carleen King?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I think was her name.
Yeah, and Rob wrote the teleplay.
Right.
The script for it. It was based on a short story.
Okay.
Written by a woman here, I think, and it was kind of fun. I played a sort of a lovable loser. which
hey, well,
I know. At least I'm lovable, and it was quite a lot of fun.
It was a great deal of fun, and it did pretty well.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
So we have this, Shakespeare in the Saskatchewan has this homecoming event that's happening to sort of mark the end of our tent era and the beginnings of the new site. And so you've got the information in front of you, so I'll get you to talk about what it is, what's it all about.
It's August 10th, and basically they've sent out emails to everyone that they've been able to send out emails to, but otherwise they just wanted us to remind people, if there are any staff or actors or volunteers that have been involved in Shakespeare in Saskatchewan in the last 35 years, that there will be a special ticket price for them for Comedy of Errors matinee on August 10th. And they can call the Shakespeare office at 306-653-2300. Identify yourself and just say that you're wanting a ticket for the event. It's a 1 p.m. matinee production of Comedy of Errors, followed by a special ceremony and a wine and cheese reception.
Hey.
Wine and cheese.
So if you, because lots of people from Shakespeare's past have passed on, living or passed on, who would you put in the audience if you could put all the people that you wish could come and see and be a part of this homecoming celebration? Who would you put in the audience?
Goodness. Well, I mentioned Gabe Prendergast before.
Right.
He was a prof when I went to the University of Saskatchewan Regina campus. I mean, that's how long ago that was.
Wow.
He was a there are teachers and there are and there are people who help you broaden your career, and then there are mentors. And there's a couple of profs I had that were more than teachers; they were mentors. They gently pushed and prodded, which was a great help to me. And Gabe was one of those people. And it would be a wonderful thing. And he'll be there in spirit. Yeah, certainly. I will think of him. So he's certainly one person whose seat should be reserved for that show.
I mentioned Rick Gorey, David Bairstow. That would be swell. Wendy Agnew. Also, Alphonse Cadet, who's just a swell fella.
You think he'll come?
I don't know if he'll come to that. He may come at some other point. Who knows? And Ralph,
he tends to show up. We see him in the audience a few times.
Yeah. Ralph Blankenagel, Laura Kennedy.
Yeah.
They were, they still, they ask about how things are going. You see them and that. And I certainly would like. And it'd be nice to see John Wright again. I haven't seen John in quite a while. But and
he may show up. You never know.
Yeah. And Chip Chipka is always fun.
He'd be fun to have in the audience.
Yes, he would.
I'd be worried about him reaching out to trip me as I come on stage. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about Comedy of Errors. If people want to know what the show is about, you can Google it. It's a storyline that I prefer for audience members. If they don't know it, you don't need to know it before you come to see this one.
Oh, no.
It gets complicated, but we take you there with your hand in our hands.
That's right.
So I'm interested in hearing you guys talk about the characters that you play in Comedy of Errors and what they're all about.
Well, I play Aegon, who is the Papa, and in he has one grand assignment. And that's to explain the play, plot of the play at the very beginning. And that's what he does in 3 pages of dialogue. And so he gets that whole ball rolling. He sets everything out so everything is clear. And then it's taken away by the other talents. And there's a very small sheriff role.
Who is wonderful. We love him all
lots of fun.
He's a wee bit of an odd fellow, but that's all right.
Yeah. He's okay.
He's all right.
I think
just a touch
he's armed, though, which is
not a good idea.
I think that's the problem. It'd be quite lovely if he didn't have a gun.
Yeah, he's sort of just a touch of Slim Pickens. I'm thinking.
What a wonderful name, too. I mean, that's Slim Pickens.
And maybe Walter Brennan, maybe just a touch, maybe.
Maybe.
I play Duke Salinas, who runs a trailer park, I guess. Pretty much. Yeah. He's got a pretty nice sidearm. And he seems to be a fairly easy touch because
he talks a big fight, but
yeah, but yeah, he pretty much caves to Aegon, and then he caves to anybody else, any woman who asks for anything. It seems, it's fun. It's fun. The last scene is a lot of fun just because of all the discoveries and you're sort of, as the Duke guy, you're sort of focusing where the story is going and how it's running, that sort of thing. So it's really fun that way. Balthazar, I play, and he's seems to be into marijuana a little bit.
Yeah.
Which, well, I don't know what to say.
It just
about
takes
that.
so much acting for you to relate to that, dude.
I had to dig deep.
Yeah.
A lot of
And we
research.
appreciate the hard work you put into that role.
Thank you. And then Pinch, the Reverend, I guess, is coming in for an exorcism.
Yeah.
Of sorts. And it's just it's very fun. The physicality of all of that particular scene it's fairly insane.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the things about the talent of the people involved. Ken and Sarah and just the physical things that Ken is like. When you talk about people who carry things on their back, and Ken is carrying things on people on his back in both shows. I mean, he just does.
Yeah. Mule Team is his middle name.
And his mastery of the physical. Aside from everything else that he does wonderfully, is inspiring, but not so inspiring as to make me want to try it.
No.
Yeah. You appreciate the skill in others.
That's
right.
right.
Good for you, not for me moments.
Yes. And I just that the last scene is just so much fun. It's just the way it fires and goes person to person to person to person. I really enjoy it a lot.
While I have both of you here as actors with a lot more experience than I have, I wanted to ask a question about comedy. Because we had a performance of Comedy Vers last night where we had a really enthusiastic audience who was laughing and wanting to laugh, and any raised eyebrow could set the whole audience laughing. And then there's that worry of important plot points or important moments or lines being lost because you try to ride the laugh and come in on the crest of the wave. But when waves are cresting back on each other, how... you can't just stop the show and wait till they're done. What do you do?
Well, I think there's as you're suggesting, a variety of circumstances, and there are times when the following line may not be worth saving, and you just gotta give the audience a chance to have their fun. But if they are going crazy as they did last night, then you have to at some point get on with the process. Otherwise, whatever else it's leading to, because it was written by some guy who knew something about writing. So it is going somewhere, and you can't absolutely stop the play without keeping that tension and momentum moving forward. So you can't let that go.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have to hope that you or whoever can come up with enough vocal power to just start to quell what is happening a little bit, just so that you can continue. I guess.
Yeah. It's my favorite. I feel like I learned so much about that show because of when they were laughing. I went, oh, that's what the actual rhythm of this show could be.
Yeah.
When you're getting the laugh on all of the puns and all the rhymes.
And like when Shakespeare was writing, the audience was raucous. I mean, they were raucous. So a lot of the lines are kind of, okay, we're just going to ride this. We're going to ride this until the next plot point, and then we're going to get more of a response there. But you can't sit on it too long. Otherwise, you get the dip.
Yeah. Yep. And then they all get tired because they've been laughing for the last 45 minutes.
Yeah. So you got to keep them up, just like the ball.
It's the momentum.
Okay, final question. Looking forward to the future, are there particular Shakespeare roles you have your eye on, or roles in general that you're like, okay, before I'm done and I have to stop doing Shakespeare, or I have to stop performing completely, are there roles that you're like, or stories that you would really, really like to be able to tell?
Well, I have a couple, and I think, given that theater's changing now, in many ways, in structural ways, and in terms of approach to roles. And the Shakespeare Festival is playing an important role in terms of being an equal opportunity employer in terms of male-female role casting. And there's a couple of roles that, at least one of them, I may not be age appropriate for. Mm-hmm. But, I'd like to do Mackers.
Yeah. Hey.
And I'd like to play Prospero.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Okay. That's it.
That's all.
That's all.
That's enough.
Yep.
Well, it's Romeo for me. No, it's not.
Seriously though, wouldn't that there have been of a certain age Romeo and Juliet done? Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
in England
they're
doing they have such a core of senior actors, and they're doing all the Shakespeare's.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. No. I honestly I have no. I can't honestly say that there's a role that I would really like to do that I haven't done. Not that I've done tons of them, but I think I've done enough sort of larger things that I feel fairly satisfied about that. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's like when once you're doing something, it's like like Salinas or whoever. It's not a role that I've thought about before, but once it's there and you're looking at it, and you can do it with an accent, that was for me. That was kind of freeing when I understood where we were going with it. Just the way the language works with those accents, the words, there's just the structure just seems to move with it so well.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible how that happens every once in a while. And then you try other accents with Shakespeare, and you're like, oh, that doesn't square peg round hole.
Yeah.
So it may have to do with the history of the South and its development with from classic English, French.
Right.
Languages. So
that's a whole other podcast.
That is a whole other discourse.
All right. Well, that's all the time that I have to chat with you guys. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for the invitation. It's been great fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kate.
Have a fun show tonight.
Well,
you too.
And thank you to all of you CFCR listeners out there on this Friday night. You've been tuning into Mama with Thespian. I've been your host, Kate Herriot, and you were listening to my chat with Blaine, Hart, and Kent Allen about Shakespeare on the Saskatchewan. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will talk to you next Friday night.